Welcome to Neutral Voices. I am Dr. V, and this is In Depth, where we dig deep in the trenches of what matters.
This is your guy, James Scott. Hey, if you have not joined our YouTube channel, we ask that you do that right now. Take that quick second, go over there, subscribe, hit that bell so you can get them notifications every time we go live. Man, we promise to bring it to you and always keep it real with you. Doc V, what you got for us tonight?
I have a pretty heavy topic tonight. It's amazing, and it's something we all use.
Right.
Technology. Moving forward. Technology in the future. We're going to be talking about the future. We're going to be talking about the power of technology and how it affects human life today, tomorrow, and every day. Because guess what? Listen, no matter what, no matter who you are, you cannot escape technology.
No, you can't.
It's everywhere.
And the truth is, there's so many people out there. Maybe it's you, and you just don't like it, and you're afraid of it. Well, we're going to talk about it tonight.
Right.
And you know, to be honest, I'm going to tell you some stuff that may scare you, and all I can tell y'all is real, and it's
real.
coming.
I got you. I'm
yeah,
right there with you, Doc.
Let's
I
get
got some
into
of those
this.
things.
So let's talk about some of the major players in the game. So let's look at the top 10.
The top 10.
The
Wow.
top 10 companies in the world.
And we know what the top 10, everybody got something except for me. Y'all all be on me about it. Get you an iPhone. Get you an iPhone. No, I like my Android. But Apple is the top in tech. Apple is the top tech company, and they average about $2.35 trillion per year. So Apple is a big company. Everything is I now, right?
Yeah.
iHome, iPhone. Yeah.
I mean, that sounds selfish.
But that's what it is. Everything is I, isn't it?
And one thing I can say about them, they are pretty smart because you have to have certain things in order for things to work right. So, they keep advancing and changing technology. Then now you got to go get the earplugs to go with that. Or you have to buy exclusively their products.
Yes.
Right. So pretty slick.
And they I do music, and when they first came out, they had proprietary things. Pro Tools, when it first came out, you could not get it on any other platform but Mac. Buy a Mac early on, and that up until maybe it was about its fifth or seventh year before you could get Pro Tools on any other format, and they made sure it was exclusively on Mac.
Mm-hmm.
So let me grab it out the air, man. We actually have a top 10 list when it comes to tech companies. So we just talked about the number one, which is Apple, correct?
Yes.
Second in line was Microsoft Corporation.
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. Then we have the Alphabet Inc. Anybody familiar with that?
No, that's Google.
Correct.
Yeah, that is
there
Google.
you go. Google.
Alphabet.
But they call them the Alphabet Inc.
Yes.
Pretty much they control the search market, 90 percentile of it in the world.
You can't look up nothing without going through
Correct.
Google.
Fourth on the list, we have Amazon.com Inc. Everybody knows what Amazon is and what it stands for. But you would be surprised to know that Amazon is not only just a retail company, it has what they call Amazon Web Services.
Yes.
Have you guys heard about that?
Yeah. Well, Amazon, and to stop you right there, if you remember, Amazon actually started as a tech company because Amazon started as having books. They were the first ones to sell books online and have where you could buy them online or you could read them online. So that's where Amazon, it started as a tech company.
Mm-hmm.
Fifth on the line, we have Facebook, and everybody knows about Facebook, right?
Yeah. We on it now.
Facebook, for the first time in history, man, actually hit that $1 trillion mark to get on that line. Kind of hard to believe, right?
Right.
Then we go from there to Taiwan, a company in Taiwan, which is a semiconductor manufacturing company. The next one is called Tencent Holdings Ltd. I've never heard of that company, man, but they deal with social media. They have payment platforms, businesses online, advertising. They kind of do like a conglomerate of different things.
Mm-hmm.
There's another company called NVIDIA, if I'm saying that correctly, NVIDIA Corporation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a high-tech chip maker, one of the chip makers for the world. Then we have Samsung Electronics. Samsung, man, is only worth $440 billion. I would have thought.
That's why iPhones cheaper.
I would have thought they were worth more than that.
You say
only what you're comparing them to, right?
Work better than the iPhones. Let's go with that one.
No, it don't.
And last on the list, man, it's a company that just made it. It's actually another one of the chip maker companies. Everybody knows that we're dealing with a global chip shortage.
Yes.
And this company is called ASML. Do not know what that stands for, but it's a holding company that does chips as well. They do small semiconductors that are actually the smallest components that are put on the chips to make them do what they do.
Is
for
these
the
the people
world.
that hold GM for hostage right now? They got all them trucks parked?
That's what I
Man, everybody got GM hostage right now. So what we want to do, man, is read an excerpt about Apple. Apple is the #1, the largest tech company in the world. So we're going to ask Doc V or Jill to please read that for us.
All right. Apple was the first company to reach 1 trillion valuation, and it's maintained its lead as the world's preeminent tech stock. The scale of the California-based smartphone giant is difficult to comprehend, but it is put into perspective. It's likely that the revenue from Apple AirPods alone exceed the revenue of Adobe Inc., a tech giant in its own right worth more than $300 billion. Apple's biggest cash cow is obviously the iPhone, the most successful tech gadget of all time. That's why we say, if something starts going saying, that's why we say, they pulling it because you got to get a new one.
I'm serious.
Every time they come out with a new one, my old ones just start acting up. They are so smart. Last quarter alone, iPhone sales clocked in at 39.5 billion, and the release of the iPhone 13, raise your hand if you have one. Okay. James got one. He don't want people to know. Replete with improved battery life, a faster chip, and an improved camera will surely rake in tens of billions more.
Yeah.
That's pathetic. The growth of Apple's high margin services segment, with revenue topping 17 billion in the last quarter, has helped keep Apple atop of the list of the most valuable tech.
So what's the net worth of these top 10 tech companies in the world?
It's
over 15 trillion.
It's approximately what? 12 trillion?
At least 12.
12.5. 12.
That is
12 trillion.
insane, my man.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
It's
That's
ridiculous. That is amazing. Well, so speaking of that, I would say when we start thinking about power, let's talk about power, and we don't necessarily have to go into the different companies.
Right.
So when you think about the power connected to technology, how are they, or AI, what's being used and manipulated when it comes to the power of technology?
The
today?
price, first and foremost. You see what seriously, we just looked at the money, the price first and foremost. What you have here is, like you say, and I think Apple is just now settling a lawsuit from when they admitted that they slowed down the older OSs to make you upgrade and buy new phones.
Correct.
So that's that's the power. Because
they know we need it.
Yeah, when my product is in that demand and I don't want you to hold it that long, so what do? I make it ineffective. Yes. So, that's one of the biggest powers is the power of profit.
Power.
Yeah, and
power
that's
of profit.
Yeah, definitely.
Huge. I think of power from a different angle because, with this subject being so broad, I think we're all going to kind of come with a different angle so that we can cover everything. So when I think of the power, I think of how the government uses technology in order to create some sort of a state of surveillance. And I'm going to get into that a little bit, down the road. But also, I believe that technology can improve or undermine democracy depending on how it's used and who is in control of, of the technology itself.
Jill must be off the grid.
And I mean, you can call it, there's a lot of people who actually feel this way. And if you do some research, I mean, we're not going to discuss it tonight, but I would encourage you to look into the Mockingbird Project, which I believe was in the 60s or the 70s. That kind of talked about the intention of where the media and technology was going to go. So if you do some research on that, it will bring you back to today. And it's very true, and it's actually quite educational.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, too, that way back when we were thinking about the future,
right,
and we were watching the Jetson, we had no idea that we would actually be living in the time where we are almost right there.
Yeah.
So as we continue our conversation, we're going to find out how technology is really moving towards those things.
Yes. Anybody familiar with God's Eye?
Oh man, you didn't watch Fast and the Furious.
They call it God's Eye.
Okay.
Yeah.
But man, the facial recognition of technology is just insane. Any camera today that's 4K and above, or any sense of megapixels that's of reality with a clean screening, or even not, facial recognition is attached to everything. So just imagine, if you haven't seen it, man, you got to see how they demonstrated God's Eye.
when
it taps into every camera on
around.
Earth. I don't care where you at, and it scans the retinal and the facial features of any human being.
Yeah. Is that a movie or?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's in a movie, but
it's real.
It's real.
It's really real.
But you think about it, and we think about simple technology like that. For years, they've had satellites circling the globe, and they can pinpoint, they can read the date on a dime from space.
Correct.
So technology is huge. I mean, and it's been in practice. And we're going to get into, some of the things that, we talking about the good and the bad, but technology is not all good.
Now, see, so I just want to think about, want you to think about this with technology or with power. The train that they have, Tesla and SpaceX come together to do this train called the Hyperloop.
Yeah.
And so it's supposed to be the fastest, obviously, moving train, moving at 460 kilometers. And so this is, obviously somewhere in there, they're going to be using something like this, like a capsule to, go back and forth. But this is actually like a train that would be moving underground. Would you get on it?
You going to be a human cannonball?
That's basically what it's going to be. Man. And so you're talking about power being able to move you from, what is it, Los Angeles to San Francisco in
25 minutes.
Yep, 29 minutes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
From a trip that would have normally taken you 2 hours on a train, 2 hours and 56 minutes. It would be moving you 29 minutes. You would be there getting off. Would you?
No, something's wrong with that.
That's too much speed. I don't have need for that kind of speed.
I hope they got a good cleaning policy, because there's going to be some upset stuff.
You're right.
But like when you're talking about
power,
power,
woo.
When you're talking about the power of technology, though, you have to understand that you won't even feel the geo forces.
No, you wouldn't.
Of any of that, man.
You said I'm just there.
You're just there. You don't even know you're moving at that speed. So
it's just like when you're in an airplane.
That's how fast, man, and how powerful technology is. Yeah. Just to imagine that Elon Musk is thinking of that, and they call it the Hyperloop, and they're already in the mock stages of creating this thing. Pretty much have it figured out, and now they know how much it costs to build it out per kilometer of whatever footage that they need to do. They got a cost on it.
Yes.
So that tells you how far they already have it mapped out to bring it to life. So we talking about the power of technology, man. We don't have a clue.
No,
these cats are way out there.
And when you say 460 kilometers, that already sounds like a lot, but they are aiming to get it to go to 12,000 kilometers. So they want it to go much faster than that. So I'm like, that doesn't even make sense to me.
No, I'm gonna stay here.
Yeah. So when we think about that, and obviously thinking from where we come from, obviously wagons and etc., how has things changed? Not just with transportation, but other things when we relate and think about technology.
Remember the computer,
the Apple IIe?
No,
the big computer.
I'm gonna go all the way back when I was in elementary. What's the game? The
Oregon Trail.
Oregon Trail.
Oregon
You
Trail.
go from Oregon Trail
to
virtual reality.
Yeah.
And something totally different. I mean, I sat and watched my son play his game. I'm like, you know something? I played a Nintendo and an Atari.
We had to blow in our games just
before
we opened the thing
and
to get the function.
So played Atari? Man, I feel young.
Well, now and now they're coming out, and what they're working on now is actually, you know how some people do the virtual and you put the mask on. I don't know if you ever played those, but so now they have like a bodysuit you can put on.
Right.
And they are really intensifying it, taking it to a whole nother level where if you have this bodysuit on, any hit in the movie, you're going to actually feel everything. And actually with some force. So not only will you be able to hear and see, so with that bodysuit,
that's too much, man.
I think it's way over the top. But
there is a place in Fort Wayne actually that's called Spectrum. I think it's called Spectrum Reality, and that's exactly what it is. You put all this stuff on, and I can play over here, and my daughter can play over there, and we're in the same video game, and it's cool, but it's creepy.
I was going to say
creepy.
Yeah.
Let's give you an illustration on type of how things have changed. You guys remember broadband back in the early 2000s?
Yes.
Okay, so let's do a 20-year hiatus. Right? Back to 2000. So broadband, when it was back in 2000, man, they said less than 7%
Mm-hmm.
Today, over half of the globe, the population in the world has access to the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about cell phones. Back in the 2000s, there were 740 million cell phone subscriptions in the world, worldwide. Okay, so 2 decades later, the number has surpassed 8 billion. So, which means there are more cell phones in the world than there are people.
Mm. Yeah. All right. Well, he was saying cell phones. And then we're going to go to social media. Social media. Fewer than 1 million people were on MySpace. Facebook had not even launched by 2018. Facebook had more than 2.26 billion users. Other sites growing and hundreds of millions of users. Things evolve. It used to be 10 years, but in a year now time, there is a difference in technology. There's a difference in experience. You blink your eye, it's something totally new, different. Something totally different than what it was a year ago. Right. Cell phones. Why every year are there new cell phones and new TVs? Why? And
because they know people are going to buy
right.
it.
And
all people, all ages, etc. So senior citizens need them. Young people want them, can't live without them, and they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, and the last is, in the past 2 decades have been healthcare and biotech. And I got some information on that. Healthcare and biotech, much of your personal healthcare needs and different things through technology. And since we're here, one of the subjects I was talking about, and we talked about this yesterday off air, is nanotechnology.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Nanotechnology is now they're injecting like little machines.
That's the reason why some
in
people
your
don't want to
body
get the vaccine.
That will be able to detect and correct. And, they're saying that'll cut down on invasive surgeries. They'll cut down on, missing health things. But yeah, Doc V, that's what you're saying. A lot of people are against the vaccine because they're saying that they have these nanobots. But it could be a good thing. Let's not look at it all bad, but I'm gonna tell you why it could be bad when we get in there. But we're gonna talk about. But the good thing is, it says it saves lives. It's better treatment and things like that. Mm-hmm. So and that's something right now that we would have never fathomed, that they're gonna inject little machines in your body to monitor your body.
But what's really, I was gonna say what's really scary is that they are actually working with some cells and creating in these what they call blobs, mm-hmm. that they are using real frog cells mm-hmm. to create these things.
Right.
And they're thinking that they could go into your body.
Right.
And administer medications mm-hmm. where you need it, repair some things, clean out your arteries. Yeah. But who really would want this thing that potentially has a mind of its own, that can function independently, but yet it also can function as a group?
Right.
What would happen if you remember the old movie, The Blob?
Yeah.
Okay, mm-hmm. that's what comes to mind when I think about that. And they have it and it's already working. They just haven't used it on anybody yet. Right. So it's crazy when you start thinking about health and technology.
I would be afraid to do something like that, period. Because the simple fact
you mean to have it put in your body and know it.
I mean, you at the end of the day, you still want to know what, like you said.
Right.
You never know what's going to happen or what can. I mean, technology is going to the point where it is. I'm almost scared that they're going to end up bringing people back alive.
Yeah.
mm-hmm. And that's why I was saying. So there's a fear factor connected to technology. Yeah. So the fear of some people even indulging in it to learn it, but then it's the whole other fear of where it might end up in the future.
Yeah, and I don't want to jump in front of you, Doc V, but I think on your list we have the good and the bad.
We do.
Is that next? Because I don't.
Yeah. So we just kind of talking about it. I may not always introduce the topic. I just gonna get it right into it.
Yes, and I'm good. I'm glad with that, but I didn't want to overstep and push that.
You're good.
Because in this, now, don't get me wrong, technology has all of its goods.
Yes.
Think about it. If we didn't have technology during this pandemic, where would we be? The world would have fallen backwards. We would have lost some things if we hadn't had, because schools were closing, offices was closing, businesses was closing. Right. So if we didn't have this technology, then there would have been a bigger problem than just this pandemic.
You sure?
It would have been.
I mean, I'm going to ask you, I'm just going to say, what's wrong with going back to the old?
What's the old?
handwriting letters.
Come on.
It-
You
it's
can
not
do that
that-
if you want to.
Card, a phone call.
A phone call, or
A visit across the
you know,
It's
Morse
not that.
code.
It's not that, but what I'm saying, where they wouldn't allow people to gather. If we didn't have this face to face or this
Yeah, I didn't get what
thing.
you're saying, man.
But what are some of the top things that they say are good? Now, if I'm a shy guy and I don't really know how to talk to women,
No, you gonna
And-
use
Which you
use
don't.
technology.
that's what some people do. They use it. I haven't talked to a woman since the 5th grade, Jill. I'm telling you. But
But when you say that and shy guy and about using, I'm gonna say abusing
abusing,
the
however you want to
technology.
say it. Yeah.
No, I'm saying that because there are people who cannot ask you for money or for a favor face to face.
But they'll send you that Cash App link.
They text you in a
text you.
heartbeat.
They can use technology for those.
Yeah,
things.
but there's good. And think about other things that, like I say, doing business and things like that. If we hadn't had these technologies during the pandemic, we could have fell off. Easier. We had to go to encyclopedias. We had to spend hours in the library. writing
Oh my
papers,
goodness.
Typewriting.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So E said,
What's
why
wrong
not? Why
what's
not
wrong?
go back to that? But for me, I'm
How
saying
many hours
I do
did you
like.
spend in it? I like it, but
That's what I'm
some of
saying.
them days you was like, I don't want to be in
Well,
this
see, I'm
library.
gonna tell you, I ain't as old as y'all. I ain't had to go spend those hours in the library. Now,
You played Atari.
Yeah, right.
Did you not say you played Atari?
I played Atari, but by the time I got of age,
But listen,
we had the infraweb and stuff like that. So hey, I'm just saying.
So another good, the spell check and everything. Sometimes it'll complete your sentence for you. That
Yes.
helps a lot of people. There are a lot of great things. It's faster a lot of times,
Right.
more efficient.
Right.
Sorry
Well,
to say. So
I mean, you
on
yeah,
time for
it's right,
the
you're
most
right.
part.
But I think a lot of the technology, honestly, it sets our kids back.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
You mean like
I agree.
calculators and not being able to calculate
Not being
on
not-
paper or
Not
Yeah.
being able to write.
Not
Cursive.
being able to write
Yeah,
cursive.
that's true.
And one of the biggest things is what I learned about algebra. It's not about the problem.
It's about the work.
It's about the work. It's about how to solve a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not about where X is, it's about how to solve problems. So now at this point, they don't know how to work through a situation.
Mhm.
That's one of the things.
And that's one of the negatives, I
Yeah.
would say.
They say the lack of analytical thinking.
Yeah.
He is
Yeah.
right. The lack of analytical thinking, because we can type in whatever we
Mhm.
need to, and
Mhm.
that fits into. So the lack of analytical thinking has been a downfall.
And
Yeah.
here's where that's also an issue because we talk about having to go to the library to do research. So when you pull out a history book and you go to that page, that's almost always going to be legit without having to be fact checked. So a lot of times now with the internet, somebody will type something in, first thing that pops up, they assume that's true.
True.
This is
Mhm.
it. They don't research it. They're spreading false information. To where with the books, even now for school, they don't have school books. Everything is on
A
the
computer,
tablet.
yep.
It's just to me.
And they
it's-
try to push you toward that.
Yeah,
and
they do.
I want my textbook. That
Right.
question just came to us today. Do we need textbooks? And I'm sure a lot of teachers said no because they can actually pull the textbook up on the
On
computer.
there.
But I want the textbook in the building.
Also a downside is, we've gotten braver when we don't have to see people face to face. If
That's
I had
what
to
I'm
talk to
saying.
you
Yeah.
about your mama face to
Yeah.
face, I'm not going to say certain things, but I get behind that computer and I can be, and they say the rise in bullying, the rise in cyber stalking and things like that. So those are some of the negatives,
Yes,
I mean,
definitely.
It's
I'm glad you pointed
good,
that
it's
out.
convenient, but I get behind that computer, I can do this, and catfishing. That's another thing.
That's
where-
another
Yeah.
negative.
where
Yeah.
I can put you up there and put a picture of somebody. Who was that? Manti Te'o, the football player that
Right.
got catfish. The woman never exists. So I mean, the catfishing and all of that.
Right. If
But-
you show up not looking like your picture, I'm
Right,
leaving.
right.
I'm just,
But
so
before-
everything real.
Here's a
May not be
big
real.
to me is a big downfall about technology.
Uh-huh.
The kids nowadays.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with the kids. They don't understand how to get outside.
Right.
This is technology is literally mind
you
numbing,
lazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and it's making these kids lazy. Versus, when we was growing up, we didn't. Our biggest thing is hurry up and getting outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These kids' biggest thing is staying up late at night to be on TikTok.
Right.
Games and
And and playing the video games, and it's just like go outside. Going outside to a lot of these kids are a punishment.
And yes, you're absolutely right. And then when you say that, then it affects that parent-child
Yeah,
relationship as well, because
Right.
that parent is going to push that device in that kid's
I
life.
got one more negative before we get out of here.
Okay.
Did you have something, Jill? Because this is gonna be good. I don't want to cut you short.
Well,
'cause
I
this
got a
gonna
whole
be good.
bunch of
Well,
negatives.
I was going to.
But I know time is winding up, and we
Well,
were
we
dealing
yeah,
with
and I
some
was gonna
things.
say we kind of touching on the
Yeah.
future too, and that was one of the
Yeah.
places we were gonna go. So we
But
kind of just
I got
sprinkled in
one
there,
full
too.
negative, and I'm gonna hit y'all all with this. I've been waiting
Okay,
for this
go on,
moment
hit
to
us.
give you
Go
this
ahead and hit
negative.
us.
The one negative about the internet or about technology, especially the cyber technology, is nothing ever goes away.
Yeah,
It's
that's
always
scary.
there. Nothing ever go away. So all them Peter pics that you sent.
Hold on, friend.
Oh,
Never.
You know when
Jill?
you was taking them, those boudoir pics and everything.
Wait a minute.
Those things will never go
I don't do
away.
I think
First and
Clarence has
foremost.
some guilty.
Yeah. You talk about. I mean,
And
but
that-
you're right. That stuff do not go
Right.
away.
Your
I mean,
face-
you
We're
call
going
me
to show
Joe.
those photos.
That's jacked up. I mean, damn.
But I'm just saying, I
But
just had to
I
use an
get it.
illustration.
Yes.
Is that those stuff, and Jill talked about, I think yesterday, about how they use things in political ads, and think about it. Kevin Hart lost the Oscars because they went back 10,
I was
12
gonna-
years.
Yes.
People, John Gruden just recently, they went back 11 years because
Yeah.
this stuff does not go
right,
away.
right. So if they want to find something about you, all they have to do is do a little digging.
I mean, it's
You're going
scary.
to pull something up on
It's
somebody.
scary. You could Google a person's name, and pretty much their whole life pops up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's some scary thing. That just the thought process. Like somebody could Google me.
Picture their house.
Yes.
Yeah, my
Whole
house or everywhere I stayed at, my next of kin, all that. It's not hard to find if you just Google it.
And-
Technology is too broad to
Yeah,
me.
and I don't know if
and
we
there's
got
so many
to this.
places we can go. I don't know. We may be headed there. What are you going?
I was going to say, we talked about giving up our freedoms, rights and things.
Mm-hmm.
You got to think, for convenience of technology, we give up rights.
Mhm.
Banking,
Mm-hmm.
we give all our information.
You do.
Shopping, we give all our information.
Mhm.
He was talking
I
about
hate that.
what you can do. You can sell your house now online. You give up all your information.
Yes.
Cell phones, we talked about that. Carrying a cell phone, do you know you have given up your right of privacy because they track can track every movement. You might not have your location on, but once you hit a tower, that's going to ping your location
There's your
and they can
location.
triangulate where you were at that time. So through convenience and through the we need of technology, we have given up some of our rights just to
we
be
have.
convenient.
Right.
And with facial recognition, and I think that was mentioned, but with that, we talk about people being racist
Mhm.
in different things, but the computers, and I know we talked about this on another show, but the computers actually, or different scanners, will have that same ability, where it will recognize you by your complexion.
Right.
And so that's not necessarily.
Well, not
Well,
by
I'm too dark.
complexion. Not by complexion, but
is it the pigment or what is it?
they're also
Pick it
having what the science is, and this is why they haven't been able to use facial recognition in courts 100% of the time,
Mhm.
because some of the features they claim on Black people, they can just generalize. And if
Right,
they
but
generalize
there's a technology
Absolutely.
that if you place a white screen or white mask on your Black face, it will recognize you and
Right.
it'll begin to work.
Yep.
But if
But-
you remove it,
but you
it will
can't
not
use that
register.
because that
you.
manipulates it. So that's why it can't.
Well,
be
they
used in
have
court.
already been
They
manipulating.
are. In
it.
fact, I have the court cases and the dates. 2019, Nigeria Park spent 11 days in jail because he was mistakenly matched with
That's
a fake
right.
ID at a crime scene. There was actually 13 cases just in the last 12 months to where people have been put in jail because of this facial recognition.
Mhm.
And I'm with V. I saw a study where they actually said these are biased without being biased. So
Yes.
all we've done is move from human bias
to artificial intelligence.
artificial
that's-
bias.
Yes.
I mean, we could talk about that forever. I mean, if you look at not just the facial recognition, but in my eyes, technology could actually perpetuate racism. You're
Yes.
looking at a computer now that tells you if you can buy a house, a computer now that tells you if you can get a loan, if you can get a job, if you can get a cell phone, all of that stuff. I mean, if you think all of that stuff is accurate, you should do a little research on it, because there are a lot of risk assessment tools that are not in favor of certain communities.
That's right. And this just like the touch now, that touch is on your phone.
Right.
You know, so a lot of times, so you can't really escape it. If you want to know what color you are.
Right.
Yeah. So it's already out there. So Clint, they had a special on Netflix. I'm not sure what the name of it. There's actually a lot of specials on Netflix. If you want to look into it, there's a lot of specials about artificial intelligence on Netflix. This is Neutral Voices. I just want to thank you for joining us right now. We're going to continue. We're having conversation about technology. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page. So with that being said, and so check those things out. And Jill, you definitely brought some things to the surface. Have you been in a position, or either of you, where you've had to do facial recognition at this point?
No, but I ran across something recently with the unemployment, all of the claims that are being filed. So a lot of times they do an ID verification for unemployment so that they can stop unemployment fraud. So the same recognition for the facial technology is being used. It is still flawed, and there are actually people, black people, that are going to jail for unemployment fraud or being investigated. So, I mean, the list goes on and on. We could talk about that for a very long time.
Yeah, and you know, now there's something new. Remember, we all had to get certain things put on our driver's license.
Yes.
And so I just heard on the news where they are getting ready to make it very convenient. You'll be able to go from basically just walking through that front door, going straight to your seat on the plane. And a lot of that's going to have to do with facial recognition. So once you're in the system, it'll be able to identify you, and you just move on.
That's my point. We have given up our right of simple privacy, of simple travel, just for this convenience. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but you got to look at where we are. I mean, no, I'm not. I mean, let's be real. I'm not going to be off the grid with you. But think about it. And like I said this in a program we did earlier, one of the main things is, your money. Nobody has cash money, or really, it's really hard to transact with cash money now. Your card, as soon as you swipe it, they know where everything. And then when you call in, you got to give your card to these people and things. They say they don't keep it on file, but your card's on file. Then how many times has TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and all of them been hacked?
Right. So that's what I said. So what does this cost humanity? So as we look forward into our future and we understand what's coming down the road, we have cars flying, we have people creating jet packs so we can move from this point to the next point. And they are already working on technology that not just Skyping a person, but you'll be able to call a person and summons them basically to your couch, so to speak. So what do you see us going? What is the cost to humanity on everything, all levels?
So I think that E started it off perfectly when he was talking about the youth, because it's a different life. I mean, at our age, before we had any of that, we had to form human connections with our friends, with people we saw. Now the connection is the device. So I think, in my eyes, what it costs is you will never be able to replace a human connection, no matter what else technology comes in and tries to replace. So I think it has cost humanity the ability to critically think for themselves, the ability to attach to something that is not a device, to rely on. I think that's why the suicide rates are so high, the depression rates are so high, anxiety, all of this, because you've got your human connection right here instead of right here.
Yeah. And you know what, Jill, you said suicide, depression, and the truth is this nanotechnology that you're talking about, they actually want to be able to implant this in the human brain so that they can prevent depression and those negative feelings. And so what I don't like about that is that, to me, you're controlling my thoughts. You're trying to interfere with my natural thought pattern, even if it goes to the left or if it becomes negative.
Right. Well, I mean, they want you to always be happy, and you're not going to always be happy.
So imagine living in a world like that.
It would be miserable.
Where everybody really is like everybody's fault.
What's that movie with Sylvester Stallone? When he Demolition Man.
I showed you that clip the other day.
Demolition Man. That's where we're gonna end up at Demolition Man. I mean, you're gonna have people live underground that wants to be a normal person. Then you're gonna have the upscale society that has all the the technology that's implanted in them.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you say
Right.
upscale tech society,
Well, they feel they upscale because they have all the amenities to themselves. I mean, they could put on a head guard and have relations with another person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's not touching. You can't touch. You can't because it's germs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's gonna come to the point where we don't have, like she said, that human connection, that bond, that that sit down, talk to side to side, going out to dinner with the next person. Well, I could go out to dinner in my own living room and you in your living room, but we looking right at each other.
Right.
That's
Right.
not a connection.
Right. And
right. So who are the puppet masters when we get to the bottom? There's somebody manipulating things. There's somebody that's saying, "Hey, we need to create this." They are messing with 3D printing and trying to create food. So yes,
Man.
they are trying to develop food. They are trying to build complexes and apartments, etc. Some of that would be awesome and amazing because we can probably stop homelessness for
Right.
sure.
Print me a
They won't-
cheeseburger.
They won't stop.
Rent me off a house,
Right.
So I mean, it can go to the positive, but it could surely go to
Oh,
the
for sure.
negative.
Right.
So
But the puppet masters, first of all, it's whoever can make the dollar. But most and foremost, it's our government and our military. All technology that we have, it has come from our military. GPS. Y'all remember those Nextel chirps?
mhm.
Those came from the government, and the government actually took that technology back. That's why the chirp has went away because
Thank goodness.
the frequency and everything that they were messing up. But our government, and I think our future has already been shown to us. Because if we can go back, like he was saying, we can go back and watch old movies. All that stuff was already presented to us. It was given to us. They just now convincing us through these TV shows and these movies and they make our desire to want these things. And life would be so easy if we had those things. But sometimes the sacrifice is not worth the convenience.
It's a mind control. I mean, if you think about it, look at our youth. I mean, I have to keep thinking about my kids. Everything is mind control. If I could continue to control your mind and not have you a critical thinker,
Mm-hmm.
Boom.
I mean, that's a lot right there.
Yeah.
If you don't have to think hard and figure out a problem, I can give you that problem,
Mm-hmm.
and so you can move on. So if you don't have a critical thought process where, okay, why is you giving me this problem so easy? What's behind it?
Right.
And
There's-
nobody think about that.
That's right. And there's a lot more to this because when you say problems, we have emotional problems because
Yeah.
of technology. We have sleep issues and problems because of technology.
Isolation.
You don't know what they tell you, how many hours you need to put your computer down before you go to sleep. You can't have a blue light and etc. We have eye problems now because we're watching and
Yeah.
looking and
That screen,
squinting.
yes.
And yes. And so there's so many other things, so many factors, so many negatives, so many pros and cons and stuff when it comes to technology. And so this is Neutral Voices. We cannot talk about all of it in one night.
Nah, we can
No.
try.
We could,
We
but
could. We'll be here forever.
yes, it wouldn't be good. But join us tomorrow. We're going to talk further, but the main thing is we're going to talk about some comments and questions that you may have and how technology is actually controlling your life. Again, this is Neutral Voices. Thank you for joining us. Before we exit, Jill, you have anything?
I do. You've brought us closer together, then made us more distant, made us more aware, and then made us doubt ourselves, introduced us to more friends, then invited more enemies, gave us more publicity, and then exploited us. Technology is ever changing, but there are some things that it will never replace. The need for human interaction, the human touch, a handshake, a hug, a prayer. Emotions will always trump emojis. Sometimes we need to disconnect in order to connect.
I love that. That was awesome, Jill. Thank you. This is Neutral Voices. See you tomorrow.